You're watching Mental Health with Marcie, and I'm Marcie. In today's video, we are going to talk about something that's gotten me a little bit heated. So we're going to talk today about what I'm calling, you don't look depressed. And I'm going to say it with that tone just because that's the tone that we get. So this video concept came out of a few mean comments that I've gotten on my YouTube channel, which neither here nor there. Everybody gets mean comments, but specifically around the fact that I don't look depressed, or I don't look depressed enough, or I'm pretending to be depressed, or just faking it for views, which honestly, if I was, I feel like should be doing a little bit better based on my views. But in any case, it's a little bit about me. I was gonna say this is not about me, but it just brings up this bigger point about the validation of our mental health conditions and the stigma still around them. And I'm very passionate about this topic, especially because the hate is pointed at me, but more so, I just want everyone to know that they do not need to prove their mental health conditions to anyone. And so just to start off, before we get into it, I have 5 main points I want to make, which I wrote them down because I just want to make sure I get to everything and don't ramble on incessantly. But anyway, before we get into it, just want to really reiterate this idea of you not looking depressed or not looking depressed enough. And that it feels like if somebody says that they have this perception of you that oh, you're just faking it, or you're just, making up excuses for your depression, or why you can't do the dishes, or whatnot, whatever the case may be of why you can't go into work. You're like, well, you don't look depressed. I don't know what's wrong with you. And that is so invalidating for someone with a mental health condition. To be honest with you, it is so hard to even embrace your own mental health condition yourself and to be like, I struggle with this, I need help. And for someone to come back and be like, no, you don't look like you need help. You look just fine to me. I don't know what's wrong with you. That is mind-blowing to me and completely invalidating for anyone on a mental health journey. So anyway, we'll try to calm down a little bit so this isn't too heated, but let us get into point number 1. Point number 1 is that depression is an invisible illness. And so while I'm specifically calling out depression in this video, because that is one of the things that I struggle with, this does apply to any mental health condition. And so, substitute depression for any mental health condition you might have and, still applies. But it's an invisible illness, and that means that people can't freaking see it. So for someone to say that you don't look depressed enough, how can you see it? It's invisible. Sorry, my brain is breaking right now, but it's one of those things that when you have an invisible illness, whether that be mental health conditions or not, there's a lot of physical health conditions as well that are invisible that people don't know you struggle with, such as me. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and people are all the time, oh, I didn't think it was that bad. I don't think it's that debilitating for you. And it's why don't you just invalidate every illness that I have? But anyway, invisible illnesses are especially difficult because people can't see them. They can see some, disabilities on the outside, but there's a lot more disabilities that people can't see. And so these invisible illnesses are just so difficult to prove to people because you can't. It's okay, well, I'm able to go to work. So does that mean I'm not depressed? Or I'm able to do my dishes. So does that not mean that I'm depressed? If I'm able to wash my hair or put dry shampoo in it, does that not mean I'm depressed? Is there where's this level that you have to prove to someone that you're depressed or not? And so that's why I just really wanted everyone to know, if you struggle with an invisible illness, mental health condition that people can't see, you are not alone in that, and you do not have to prove to anyone that you are, as, suffering from this condition as you say you are. It really shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't have to prove ourselves to people. People should be treating us with empathy regardless of our mental health conditions, and it just really triggers me. So anyway, let us get into point number 2. And point number 2 is that depression is a spectrum. So with any mental health condition, there are varying levels, right? So I can't even really say for you because it's such a personal experience, your mental health condition. But like for me, example, there's a difference between, okay, I can not shower today. Like that's one level. If I can't do the dishes, if I can't go to work, if I can't leave my house, if I can't leave my bed, if I'm not able to do laundry, there's just like varying things that can pile up and can contribute to my depression. Am I eating? Am I drinking? Am I, taking care of my personal hygiene? There are a lot of different things that can contribute to depression. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, but it's not like, well, I'm not depressed like to the worst possible extent, so that means I'm not depressed at all. There's, a spectrum of it, and everyone has their own spectrum of what that looks like for them. But it's just really important to realize that just because someone may not be at the worst depression, that they've ever had, that doesn't mean that their depression is not valid or that it doesn't, merit empathy or help or any kind of assistance. So I just wanted to point that out. So let us get into point number 3. Point number 3 is that depression looks different for everyone. And so I alluded to this a little bit in my last point, but it's just not the same. Like what is depression looks like for me is not necessarily what it looks like for you. There might be a lot of commonalities, such as, maybe taking medication, having difficulty getting out of bed, or maybe having, struggles going to work or things like that. There might be commonalities there, but they might not be. Everyone's experience with depression is a little bit different, and we can't just lump everyone into this thing where it's like, well, if you brush your hair today, then that means you're not depressed. That's not the case for everyone. Maybe they have other depressive tendencies or whatnot. And so it's like, if you get out of bed, that means you're not depressed today. And so it's really, which, I mean, obviously I'm saying that's not true. But it's just a lot of those false equivalencies that we're all the same, and that, the worst level of depression looks only this way, when that's not the case. It looks different for everyone. So everyone has their personal experiences with mental health. And so those are they're not the same. They're not the same for everyone. So let us get into point number 4. Point number 4 is that this is not the depression Olympics. And by that, I mean, we're not trying to be more depressed than somebody else and, oh, well, your depression isn't valid because you're still able to do X, Y, and Z, but like mine is so much worse. That is not how it should be in the mental health community, and I just don't believe in that at all. I think everyone's mental health conditions are valid, whether that ranges from, some stress to, a crisis situation. Everyone's mental health conditions are valid. And so it's not about, trying to be, oh, I'm so much more depressed than you, and I have all of these, more difficult conditions, and so I'm so much worse off than you. No, everyone has their, unique experiences, and everyone's experiences are valid. So I just wanted to bring that up and let everyone know that it's not about, oh, you don't look depressed enough in order to do X, or, you're making this excuse in order to not participate in this. No, like, you don't need to prove to anyone how depressed you are. And this is not about being quote unquote depressed enough or the most depressed or like the worst you've ever been in order to make sure that you feel valid, because that's not the case. So let us get into point number 5. And point number 5 is that a resounding, your feelings are valid. And I don't mean to like scream at you. I'm probably like screaming into the microphone, but I just want you to know that your feelings are 100% valid. Again, whether that is, a quote unquote smaller depressive episode, which again, to everyone is different, to, crisis situations, etc. Everyone has their own experiences and they are all valid. And so do not let anyone come at you saying that, you're not, mentally disabled enough, you don't have as much of a disability as X, Y, and Z, or, you're not depressed enough, or you don't look depressed enough. Just don't let anyone come at you with that, because that is total bullshit. And it's just not true, because anyone who is experiencing a mental health condition on the various range in their own various experiences, they are completely valid in that. And that is what I want you to take away from this video, is that your experiences are valid, and don't let anyone put you down and say that, your experiences aren't valid enough, or you're not depressed enough, or you just don't look depressed because you got dressed today. Like, if anyone says that to you, just like kindly tell them to fuck off, because that is not what we're here for. And that is not what I think any of us should be encouraging, because that is completely unhealthy. That is completely bullshit. And no one should be invalidating your mental health experiences. And so maybe I'll do another video about what to do when someone does invalidate your mental health experiences, like what is the best practice, because I've had a lot of experiences with that beyond these comments on my channel about people just invalidating my invisible illnesses and being like, oh, well, mine is so much worse. And so let me know down below in the comments if you'd like to see that. If you'd like to see like what are some strategies when someone does invalidate your mental health condition. In this case, I just want everyone to know that please don't let anyone invalidate you. You are completely valid. All of your mental health conditions, your struggles, I see you, and your feelings are 100% valid. So sorry if this has been a little bit of not so much of a happy video, but more of an angry video. But this is something that I'm really passionate about, and really rubs me the wrong way when people will go about invalidating other people's mental health conditions. Again, whether that's me or someone else, it's just not right when people are struggling legitimately and they are put down for that or told they're not, depressed enough or whatnot. And that's just not okay in my book. So last but not least, your feelings are 100% valid. And please let me know if you want to see any other types of videos in the comments down below. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and stay well, my friends.